The girl recovers her composure, just enough to realize the immediate danger is over. However, she is keen to get her bag. She staggers upright and, in a daze, wanders over into the middle of the road to retrieve her handbag and its scattered contents, which are spread out on the wet surface. But she isn't aware of a blue Austin car bearing down on her at speed. The driver of the blue car sees her late, hits the brakes and swerves, and only just manages to miss her by inches. Oblivious to all this, she is still kneeling down on the road, picking up her handbag contents. The driver of the blue car is the young blonde man from the cafe. He has screeched to a halt and is now standing outside of his car. The rain is pounding off the tarmac, and the wind has whipped up considerably. He runs over to check on the girl. "What the hell do you think you're doing? I could have killed you!" he shouts as he stands over her. He bends down close. Her face looks appalled. "You're drunk," she says. "Me?" He seems offended at this. "Oh, that's typical. You run out onto the road and it's my fault." The rain lashes down and the wind whistles around them. She is still bent down, putting some items into her bag. Then there is the sound of a blaring horn. "Look out or we'll both be killed!" He grabs her up and pulls her to the side. A car flies by. The heavy rain blasts of their faces. "Are you all right?" he asks, now with genuine concern. "Yes," she replies, regaining her composure. "Well, what are you doing out here anyway?" "Trying to get to Bromwood Station." She is tying a scarf over her head in an attempt to protect herself from the horrible weather conditions they are both currently enduring. "Can I give you a lift?" "In your state? You must be joking," she curtly replies. He pauses, looks concerned, and decides it might be better to just leave it at that. He walks over to his car, gets in, and begins to drive off, leaving her standing in the lay-by, on her own, in the torrential rain. As he starts to drive away, he looks back at her through his wing mirror. She is battling with her scarf and the wind in the driving rain. He can't bear to drive on and leave her stranded, and so he stops the car and reverses. He rolls down his window and shouts to her. "There are other ways of getting killed, you know. You can drown or die of pneumonia." His voice is assertive. "Come on, get in," he commands her, but in a friendly way. The girl totters towards the car and gets into the passenger seat. He drives off while she gathers herself together. She takes her scarf off, opens up her coat, and starts to settle into her new status as the car passenger of a stranger rather than a lorry driver's bit of skirt. As she is adjusting to her new role, he fetches out his whiskey. In a generous offer, he hands her the bottle. "Here, this'll warm you up." "No thanks," she politely declines, almost primly. He seems slightly taken aback by her reaction. She continues to dry off her face and neck with a handkerchief. "Weren't you at the Roadhouse?" he asks. His voice is middle-class and clear. "Yes," she says. "I got a lift. The fare was too high." "Ah, one of those." One of those," she confirms. "You were asking for it, hitching lifts with those drivers." "I had no choice. My car broke down. Gonna take a couple of days to fix. Anyway, I can take care of myself." She is not frightened to look directly at him. "Glad to hear it," he replies, but his face says that he is not entirely convinced. He glances at her, drying herself down with the hanky. "Haven't you got a case or anything?" This time she doesn't meet his eyes. "I wasn't planning on spending the night. I have to get a few things in Strickham tomorrow." She looks at her reflection in her compact mirror. "Damn," she mutters, while folding down the sunblind flap to get access to a bigger mirror and a better look at her eye makeup. She combs her hair vigorously and then flaps the blind up, satisfied that she now looks more presentable. Out of the blue, he says, "Do you know how long it takes to boil an egg on the top of Mount Everest?" She looks at him, warily. 4 hours. He answers. Her look becomes more now one of mild concern. He sweeps his hair back nervously. "Imagine having to wait that long for breakfast," he says. Her eyes lock onto him and they widen. Tension begins to build. "Well, I've got this book, How to Win Friends. It says that to break the ice you have to say something." And then a gentle smile comes on his face and he laughs a bit. She laughs too. "You see, it works," he says. She gives him a warm smile in return. They both immediately become more relaxed with each other. The girl clicks on the car radio. There is a news bulletin in progress. "Escaped last night from the mental hospital. Residents have been warned to lock all doors and windows," says the announcer. "Got a cigarette?" she asks. No, sorry, he replies. He switches the radio to a music channel. They're always breaking in and out of there, he says. Bromwood. She opens up the glove compartment and takes out a pack of fags. She shows them to him. Oh, sorry, I thought I was out. She dangles a cigarette in her mouth. That's the place they send you if you are guilty of being insane, he says, while watching the cigarette lingering on her lips. I've heard of the place, she says indifferently. It's funny, I've been reading a lot about those cases recently. Right as rain one moment, and then the next minute. He tails off. Got a match? She asks. He takes one hand off the steering wheel and searches for a packet of matches inside his left jacket pocket. He continues to speak. Some of them look so normal. To take a look at them, you'd never think they were dangerous. In fact, half of them don't even know it themselves. Sorry, I've got a lighter somewhere. You also have matches, she points out to him as she rattles a packet she has found in the glove compartment. She lights up and takes a deep drag. You should have turned left, she tells him. What? You should have gone left. There's a sign. You've taken the wrong road, she says. He slows right down to an almost stop and looks around. There is the sound of police helicopters above them. Well, I can't turn here. You can back up. He stops, selects reverse, and drives back the way. The sound of overhead spinning rotor blades becomes louder. They pass a post with small white signs pointing in 3 different directions at a junction. He chooses the right road this time, and they head off, down a country lane. They don't say anything for a while, but they glance at each other now and then. He occasionally gives her a friendly wink. She chooses to remain aloof. He breaks the silence. Do you know, I read somewhere that only 1 woman in 10 can wink. You certainly are a mine of information, Mr. Green, Simon Green, he informs her. And you? What's your name? She appears to be in a bit of a dream. Sarah Adams, she finally replies. Beautiful name, he says. Did you read that somewhere? She says. The beautiful name thing? How did you know? He replies. He looks at her. She gives him a slow wink to indicate that she is only joking with him. He puts on a shy smile that quickly turns into a warm grin. They lean slightly closer to each other. Did you say you're going to Strickham? He asks her, now with some confidence in his voice. Yes, I think I can pick up a connection in Southley, she says. They head into the village, and he parks the car just outside the deserted train station. She moves to get out of the car. No, wait, I'll go and check on your train, he says. You never know, you might have to wait a few minutes. He taps his fingers rapidly on the steering wheel, nervously. We could have a cup of coffee? Okay, she replies. He gets out of the car and walks purposely towards the station platform, leaving Sarah sitting in the passenger seat of the car. As he is just about to enter the platform area, Simon sees a group of policemen, talking together, standing at the other side of the line in the distance. He becomes anxious at their presence and decides not to draw attention to himself. He keeps well back and doesn't hang around for long. Meanwhile, Sarah is sitting patiently in the car, waiting for his return. She reaches underneath the glove compartment for the cigarettes and matches and stumbles on a thick brown envelope. She picks it up to have a closer look at it. The typed-out address on the A4 envelope reads, J.W. Hartman, Esquire, 8 Richmond Street, High Wycombe, Buckinghamshire. Her eyebrows rise at the name on the envelope. She checks if Simon is coming back, sees that he is not about yet, and decides to have a look inside the envelope. It contains a bunch of single-sheet sales brochures. Meanwhile, Simon is now heading back to the car, without actually having checked anything about the train times. Sarah spots him coming and quickly stuffs the envelope with the brochures. She carefully places it out of sight under the dashboard again. The driver's door opens. Simon leans in. The last train just left, he informs her. But there's one at 2 o'clock, Sarah says, looking surprised. He shakes his head. There isn't another one till tomorrow. Her face indicates that she is not entirely convinced. Well, it's Sunday. They only run a skeleton service, he reinforces. She looks confused, not quite buying it. You can go and check for yourself if you like, he says causally, in such a way as to emphasize that there would really be no point. He then leans back in the driver's seat. It's my fault, he says apologetically, If I hadn't taken that wrong turning, we might have made it. I better find some place to stay. Sarah makes a motion to get out of the car. He reacts quickly. No, you won't find anywhere around here, he says with concern in his voice. She pauses and looks directly at him. He carries on. Look, I've got some business to do in Highcliffe. There's a small hotel where I sometimes stay near there. They're bound to have some rooms. What would you say? He holds his gaze on her. I don't think I have much choice, she replies with resignation. Now they are speeding down the road. The rain has stopped, and it is bright and dry outside. I know Strickham, he says with a lift in his voice. Beautiful beach. Yes, she acknowledges him, but her voice is distant. Sarah starts to daydream. She experiences a flashback of herself as a young girl, riding a small horse along a beach. There is a big, fancy Humber car with white-walled tires parked on the sand. Her mother is dressed in a smart red suit, and her father is wearing a dark jacket and lighter trousers. Sarah has a yellow top on, over blue jeans. The parents look well-to-do, judging by their clothes and car. They have a floppy-eared, friendly-looking black dog with them, which is straining on a short leash. Come on, Sarah! Her parents shout to her across the sand. It's time to go now. Sarah skillfully turns the horse around and heads towards them. In her daydream, Sarah is now remembering the journey home from the beach. She is sitting in the rear seat of her parents' car, playfully wrestling with the dog in a lively manner. Silly dog, she laughs as they lark about. Her and the dog are making a lot of commotion. Sarah's father, who is driving, is getting quite distracted. He turns to his daughter and commands her sternly, "Will you behave?" he shouts. Her father then turns back around to view ahead, only to see a lorry pulling out from a side road. He has no time to react. Their car smacks right into the side of the big vehicle, with full force. At this point, Sarah snaps back out of her daydream, becoming aware that she is still sitting next to Simon in the blue Austin. She has her hand over her face. "Are you all right?" he inquires. "I'm just feeling a bit sick, that's all." She looks drained, and her face has become pallid. "When I'm driving, I'm fine, but the moment I get into the passenger seat—" "Want to stop for a minute?" he asks. No, it's past. I'm okay." "You were talking about Strickham?" he reminds her. "I lived there, until my parents were killed in an accident. After that, I went to live with my uncle." There is the loud sound of a bell ringing. Simon looks ahead anxiously out of the car window. "Thank God," he says with a sigh. "I thought it was another roadblock." They are actually approaching a level crossing, and the barriers are swinging down. "I've dodged 2 roadblocks already today," he says. "Why?" she asks. He puts on a contrite face. "You were right. I've had one too many. Can't afford to be stopped." "Why do you drink so much?" she asks him. "I've been on the wagon for ages, but it's my birthday today," he says with a smile. "You know how it is." Sarah looks doubtful. "Is it really your birthday?" "Yes, but don't ask me how many," he replies. "I won't," she smiles. "Many happy returns." A train whooshes by. "I thought you said the last train had gone," she says with surprise. "Well, I asked the porter. What's the next stop?" "Springfield, I think." "How far is it?" "Well, about 6 miles. If you can catch it, we can pick it up there," she says, with some urgency in her tone. "I can't catch it in this," referring to the Austin. Simon looks incredulous. "Well, you can try." Her voice has become more demanding. The barriers rise up. They head off at breakneck speed.